So imagine if like on your phone, you take, like you have a wallet, some tokens, a million USD of tokens or whatever. And somebody knows about it, somebody takes your phone and takes it from you. Like, just knows your password or whatever. If it's 6 numbers.
Okay, 4 or 6 numbers, doesn't matter. Okay.
So just money is gone essentially. So the idea of ownership, there's no proper oversee of who basically owns things. But I think with the Web4 and as well with AI systems integrated, then the being part is like, it'd be much harder for you to lose it.
Because it's protected with AI in some way.
And you have greater integration with the system. Meaning that maybe some internal chips, maybe there are some biometrics can use, but more than that, more than voice, fingerprints, eyes, face. Because those things, I can take a lot of pictures of you, create essentially
a mask,
and you can hack those. But if you have more of the biometric data that is internal in terms of like brainwave activity or like your heart rate or synchronization of those things, so chips inside you, then that kind of more of like Web4B.
Sounds like you need a bench amount of money, like you need a huge amount of money for this.
The whole blockchain is not about tokens. It never was. We got really excited about putting money into some weird things, and we do that. I mean, people mimicked the stock market because oh man, there's potential. Somebody said something on social media or news station that this token might go up in price, and people push a lot of money into it.
It's interesting because just 15 minutes ago, before our podcast, I met a guy in a bar, in a cafe. Was walking there, and he just asked me which token he needs to buy.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like nobody knows.
That's what I answered.
That's reality. Nobody knows. And, the idea of this technology, the cryptographic technology, the value that it produces, what I believe, is about creating a supply chain integration, a supply chain transparency.
What does it mean, supply chain transparency? Like if you need to create something in the real world and you want to minimize the risks of corruption or something like this?
As well, yeah. It's one of the use cases, lowering corruption, because suddenly what you have is if somebody tries to play with the price of the product, if you have a procurement department that has agreed with one of your suppliers to raise up the price and then they get commission on the table. Once you have supply chain transparency in the way that you can see how much they sold it to other people, then you can see that there was some, you can flag it essentially. But there's so many different value points why you would have this technology integrated into the supply chain, creating this supply chain transparency, is that suddenly what you get is that you have this ability to streamline and minimize risks for all the people within the supply chain, within all the organizations. I think in order for us to move away from the purely competitive environment into more of the co-competitive, like when you cooperate and you compete with each other, more and more data will be brought to the surface.
Do you think it's possible? Because this is the idea of humanity that you need to compete.
It is. But I think cycle. System. I think cycle. I think it's because we evolved from this farmer to the theodalic kind of system where you had farmers, they closed the fences and they said, this is our land, and you had to work in order to get the money, not the money, but get the food. And they called themselves kings after that, and they became more powerful and they started trading things, created a theodalic kind of movement. And then I guess some people got pissed off and they were like, oh, we want to have some more. And so you got the social kind of movement. Yeah, that's Magna Carta and all that stuff. And more power went to the people, to kind of the pyramid kind of shifted when you had not just the top receiving everything, but kind of skewed, and more people had the ability to receive value. Then we're kind of going from this it's kind of evolution from this theodalic / more of democracy. It was like systemizing towards the capitalism, towards kind of the left and right thinking. When you're defending the capital, the resource, the economy, the GDP, the production of the goods, and when you would when you protect essentially the people's interests, making sure that you would not create slavery, that did not go too extreme. And we have this pendulum constantly swinging from one side into the other, but there's kind of a balance where, more centralized in some ways makes more sense in the way that you have this kind of agreement of two sides where people can relate and work without fundamental conflict. So they're not on a log grid when nothing happens. I think the new system we know like this centralized, but with more and more AI systems integrating into this, into the government institutions, into the corporation, when AI agents will be like, managing a large portion of the company. So you get like, 10% and like 50% and like 100% of the company is managed by AI systems, understanding all the data from, from the right source. In order to get this right source, you have to integrate into the DLT, which one of them is blockchain, that would provide this data to the people so the AI can get the best, most likely untampered, because still blockchain, you can tamper with the data, but because it's time-stamped, if you're trying to mess with it, you will be flagged essentially, because you can't really change it that easily. Because of course the Oracle situation, but that's a whole different story. And yeah, that's why we have to create the supply chain transparency.
Hey, if you like this video, don't forget to watch a full episode and also check the links in the description below.